Hogstye.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hogstye. It is I, your host Alex. I got Steve, who is sitting there, cute as a button with his fingers folded under his chin.
Hello, folks.
And we got Dave, of course, as well. that was just a weird moment that no one but Dave and I will ever get to see.
Yeah, no, we're not on video, so nobody will care but you.
And it's forever entrenched in my mind. I might not.
That was fantastic.
We get put on video. We'll put us on video and we'll get these wonderful moments.
Yeah, but not of you, because you'll always blur your screen.
I will always blur my screen. You know, because we did a hit last year with some. I can't remember who it was. They were nice guys. You know, they want to talk about Washington, and I thought, because Dave, you couldn't do it, I think, and so I did it the last minute, and I thought it was just audio, and no, they have this whole YouTube production with video and all this. I was like, dude, I'll talk, but I'm turning my camera off, you know, and at that point they were stuck with me, so.
Sure. Oh, it's been a busy week in Washington. And I'm not just talking about my work life, which has been a lot of 12-hour days and a lot of stress that involves some very important people, which I'm not getting into too much here.
Please, no. Let's ruin your work life and let's tell us all about the important things.
Well, I can't ruin my work life much more than it's already been. I haven't been fired, but, you know, my boss texted me at 10 p.m. last night, which is always nice. So that gives you an idea of what's going on. It's a lot of that these last few weeks. But
no, I want names, Alex. Like specifically, what famous people have you been doing audio, or like moron politicians have you been doing?
I'm doing stuff for them, and they will never know. That's the goal. That's the goal of my whole existence as an AV guy for the government, is people who work in the White House or who have been appointed by the president will never know that I did anything.
I don't think the president knows he's appointed him either, just for the record, but that's another story.
That's a different show.
My big news
is
even
me on the left, I might agree with it sometimes, but that's a different
yeah, I'm not even talking about, I'm talking about simple, like this man is not no longer conscious and sentient. That's what I'm talking about. No, my big news is I talked myself into yet another guitar. So now I've got a pile of these things in my house. At this point,
what did you buy this time? What brand?
See, I bought my dream guitar. I bought an EVH Stripe Series guitar, which I got a great deal on. You know. Okay. But I was doing it, and I was like, you know what? You don't need this. You really don't. But then the guy on my right shoulder was saying, but this is what you've always wanted, this particular Stripe Series guitar. So now I have another guitar that's sitting in my house, which is great. But
do you have them all on like in a display kind of situation?
No. Well, no? I've got one of them that's the really expensive one, lives in a case always, and it's the finish on it does not. I'd have to buy a fancy like touring case to let it sit out and not ruin the finish.
Oh, so one of those like glass that doesn't let light in.
No, but one of those. I'd have to buy a better stand than I have, put that way.
Got it.
I haven't. And I also don't want people messing with it. So there's three of them that sit out, and all the rest of them are in the closet.
Okay, I just didn't know if you maybe like had like a rack with guitar.
I just have a bunch of guitar stands laying around the room.
Right.
But they're not, again, the good ones. I don't want to ruin the finish. So.
Right. You don't have a guitar shrine necessarily.
I have a half a room that's dedicated to music. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, but I don't want to.
That's something.
The Les Paul does not. The Les Paul sits in a case, though.
Got it.
Well, I've clearly had the best week out of all of you guys.
You didn't get an EVH. I don't even know what the number is, Steve. I'm going to say $20,000 guitar.
Oh no, I didn't. But no, I'm not that dumb. But you didn't buy an EVH Stripe Series guitar, though, did you, Dave?
No, I just had to deal with renters from hell. That's all.
Oh,
yes, you did. Yes.
You were telling us about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brutal. You know, and the word, I think one of the worst parts of all that is that they were supposed to be out Sunday. he asked me for one more day because he didn't want to leave me a mess. And when I walked in there, I'm like, I would hate to see what his mess looks like. Oh my Lord, it was crazy.
Would you care to disclose their names, since Alex won't disclose his names?
Nah,
Don't do that. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
No, I won't. I'm not
counsel,
going to
please
do
don't.
that.
Yeah.
But I will say though, if not for family, I'd be overwhelmed today still. And people coming. I have my sister, brother-in-law, my daughter, and future son-in-law. All of them pitch in. We started knocking. Almost 80% of it has been taken care of with all the trash.
Wow.
We've had 2 dumpster fulls. We just we finished filling the second dumpster.
So you had to rent out 2 dumpsters? Jesus.
Yes.
Wow.
We had a 10-yard, and then we were like, you know what? That's not quite big enough. So we got that one moved out for a 15-yard, and we just filled it in the day.
Perhaps you could dump it in their new house, the front yard of their new house.
I suggested that, but my wife told me no.
Yeah, let's not open up the counterclaim.
Because she is the voice of reason here.
Let's not open up the counterclaim though either. So we don't want that.
It's safe to say they're not getting their full deposit back.
No.
I'm sorry, Dave. I had a.
You live and learn, right?
Yeah, I had a weird situation with different problem. But my summer house, my mom went up there to just check on it because the winter's over, and she's like, "There's a lot of food here. Somebody's been here over the winter."
Oh, which is always a squatter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is kind of in what, New York State?
Upstate New York, yeah, in the middle of the woods.
First of all, us normal folk don't have things like summer houses. This is like rich guy problems here.
Yeah, this is inheriting it from multiple generations problems.
It's just more fun for me to make fun of you for it.
Yeah, I know, it's fine.
Yeah, so that's a problem. I mean, depending on, I'm not licensed in New York, but depending on the status of New York law, you might have to get an eviction order.
Oh no, they're not there anymore.
Oh, they're gone? Oh, okay.
But she found food evidence and things like that. And she closed up the house, so she knows what's up there.
Just get a giant bear trap and set it like in the door. And so when you come back 2 months later, this dude is sitting there trapped in a bear trap.
Still in the trap. Didn't figure it out, just gave up.
Yeah, exactly. Leave a loaf of bread by it to tempt him or something, keep him alive.
Yeah.
Just out of his reach, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, tease him. Yeah, just tease him.
Oh, okay. That's the mind games you guys like to play with people. All right, I guess we should talk about the team because a lot of stuff did happen with the team. We're going to do a safety position group breakdown towards the end of the show, but let's start out because we got to talk about it. The update on the team sale, because a lot came out today. There were 2 major stories. They're related. Part 2, which I think is actually less interesting in a way, is that the NFL's finance committee all met and they, obviously discussed the sale, and they kind of came out and said it still could happen, but there's a lot to go through on their part because there's now up to 17 minority owners. One of them is a billionaire family from, I believe, Colombia, which I guess because they're overseas and you're talking Colombia, obviously you've got to do good due diligence there.
Just generally speaking, international investors kind of are a different level of due diligence, and it's not like racism or anything. It just there's different kind of laws about in what overseas investors can do. But I would like to point out that somebody on this show said repeatedly that it wasn't going to take like 5 minutes, that this is going to be a long process. What I would be concerned about with this, he's got so many partners. It is a ton of what is going on. Why does he need this many partners? That's what I wonder.
I mean, that is a fair question. He is also going to have to take out loans against his other 2 teams because it sounds like he doesn't want to sell the 76ers.
I'm surprised he'd be able to let him lean it up like that.
Yeah. He wants to. I think I thought I saw the number of over $1 billion in loans based off of his. And I said 2, it's 3 because he also owns a soccer team in England.
That doesn't count. Oh, it's a real soccer team.
It's a major soccer team.
Oh, okay, not like the Iowa Hurricanes or something.
No,
or whatever.
No. It's not a it's Chelsea, I believe he owns.
Okay, so he has a real one, not like the fake.
Right. I know you hate. I know you don't think any of them are real.
Well, I just think soccer's not a real sport, and it's for just people who don't like sports. But they make a lot of money. The English Premier League, which is what Chelsea's part of, I think.
Yes, they are. They are one of those flagship teams in the Premier League. Yeah, they're not one that would ever get relegated.
Now, with lining up with all these other minority partners and so forth, what does that do anything in trying to help for a push into getting the RFK site? Like they've been, I think
not
they've
really
talked with them.
Doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Doesn't help financial backing or anything like that at all.
No, I mean look. First of all, the RFK site is owned by the federal government. Number one, just for people to review here. I know Dave and Alex have heard this, but the federal government owns it. It is leased to the District of Columbia. The lease expires in something like 10 or 15 years, and don't quote me on the year, but it's something like that. So to get that, the first step would be to get the federal government to agree to either sell the site or lease the site again to DC.
Right.
And so, but in terms of the team, so if the district government either has a long-term ground lease or owns it outright, then they will just contract with the team. But if the team themselves, if Josh Harris wants to own a site, whether RFK or another site, he would form a whole separate entity to own the property in the name of another corporate entity, keep the liability separate. Then he would enter into a lease with himself, wherein the entity that owns the team, which right now is Pro Football Inc., but it could be something else when we get done with this, would then be a tenant. And so there would be a lease. And so would be an integral part of the financing to this. That's how it works. So, but to answer Dave's question, it would have nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, unless one of these or a couple of these minority partners are named Schmo Schmeiden or Schmiffen McCarthy, it's not gonna really help or hurt.
Well, I mean, both those people would be barred from.
I know. It's called a joke, Steve.
Well, considering what the Hunter Biden and company are going through, it's not that far fetched, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, everyone's getting arrested over
Let's
here.
just form 30 different LLCs and take money from the Chinese. That's okay.
Oh, I mean, now we're going with the Colombians in this one, Steve. It's a different country. It's fine.
Just take that cocaine money and put it in the stadium. Does anybody stop to ask if the billionaire from Colombia is doing things that maybe he
look,
should?
Man, that's what we did all through the 80s. With every stadium built in 1980 to 1989, it was all cocaine money. Just accept it.
It didn't cost $1 billion back then, though, is the problem.
Well, things were
a lot of coke.
Just different economics.
It's a pile of cocaine.
It was still a pile of cocaine. It was just inflation.
In all seriousness, I don't know why people are so hot on the idea that RFK could actually happen. I've seen no evidence of this. I haven't seen the federal government does a lot of totally useless things, but I haven't seen them be.
No one said anything on the Fed side. No.
Yeah, they haven't done anything with this particular useless thing. So I don't know why anybody thinks it's more likely now than not. I don't get it.
Look, on the federal side, no, I know the mayors talked about it, the city councils talked about it, and they're more open to it now that Snyder's going to be gone.
But they don't have they don't have the authority duty.
They don't have final say. No.
And here's a hint, but in case anybody wants an insight in this. Congress doesn't really care about the inner workings of DC too much. I mean, this is like priority number 10,000 on their list.
No, unless it's Andy Harris wanting to ruin everyone's good time, they don't care. All right, so I mean that's part of it. The interesting thing that we didn't talk about just now, in terms of the hiccup of the sale, there's a lot going on in terms of the amount of debt Josh Harris is going to have to take on. He's taken on basically the maximum amount of debt that the NFL will allow to buy the team to begin with. There was an interesting tidbit, and Steve, you said you had some thoughts on, that Dan Snyder himself is loaning $200 million. Supposedly the difference between Harris's final bid, which was $5.8 billion, and the $6 billion number Dan Snyder wants, Dan Snyder is now loaning to Josh Harris for the final sale.
Okay, first of all, this is called seller financing.
Sure.
And I've done lots of seller financing deals. Usually it's done when people can't afford to get real financing.
Right.
But it's not that uncommon. Usually it's done in conjunction with like stock options or some. I mean, usually some other hook. But this doesn't surprise me too much. But I actually don't think this is just ego here.
Okay, you don't think? Because my
It's
guess is Dan wanted it to hit 6.
It's some of that. It might be some of that for sure. Because Dan is, little Danny is nothing but about a big ball of ego. But
Right.
I think actually what it is that don't forget there's a truckload of liability out there hanging over Danny Snyder right now.
Good point.
Okay.
Sure.
And this whole indemnity argument that you guys keep hearing about, so what indemnity is basically that says if you and I have a contract, then I'm going to agree to pay for your liability basically, and there's a whole bunch of conditions and a whole bunch of ways it can work. But so what Danny is basically saying is, if I have financial liability incurred by all these billion lawsuits and claims and whatnot that are going forward, you NFL need to pay for me. And so that's what he's asking for. And again, there's million shades of gray. I've written hundreds, probably thousands of indemnity provisions. So what I think is actually going on is the 200 million probably is the amount of calculated liability. Okay. And so probably Harris probably said, I ain't paying for your crap. But he might agree to have some sort of provision wherein if the liability goes away, then he'll pay the full 200 million in a loan over a certain number of years. Something like that is, I think it may be the ego of I have to have 6 billion, but it's probably more that is the delta that they think is the possible open liability, and Danny is going to have to finance part of it because Harris just doesn't want to shell it out, and so my guess is that if Danny incurs like 50 million of liability, then it's going to end up being that'll be subtracted from it, and he'll pay back 150 in the seller financing. That's what I bet you it's that. So I told you I had an interesting thought on it.
No, it is a very interesting thought. Right. And I'm glad, we opened it up to you to kind of give us your idea, because it makes a lot of sense that this might be workaround might not be quite the right term, but it would be a little bit of a workaround the indemnity thing, because we know the NFL didn't want to do that, right? Like we heard pretty loud and clear.
Yeah, it's not, they're not going to indemnify. Not what he wants. There's probably going to be some indemnities in this contract that aren't worth getting into here, but what Danny wants, Danny ain't going to get. It's as simple as that. But the protection here, it's sort of a backwards indemnity a little bit, because like Josh Harris has agreed to pay the 6.05 million, but I mean, this is me speculating, but Danny's got to finance part of this, and it's going to be degraded by the amount of liability that there is. And so it's sort of like financing the risk a little bit because of it. That's what that's my guess.
So all this is to say, the financial guys for the league have looked at this and said, this is unlike any sale that's ever happened. Yet every article has also been quoted as saying, we really, 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 really want Dan Snyder out of this place. And that's from guys inside the league saying, we just want him gone.
Dave,
we're going to do the due diligence.
Yeah.
Hey, when it comes to all of this, I'd much rather everyone listen to you, Steve, and then Alex ask you the right questions, because this is all above my head. I asked my one question on that in terms of how
I know, it's like, is Dave's mic off or what?
Well, I think we all come from.
I do that to avoid sounding stupid. That's all.
Although I'm just not afraid to sound stupid. It's fine.
So some of this, I already said what I'm going to say about the 200 million, but I am surprised he's got this many partners and he keeps adding more and more and more partners. I guess it's just he's so leveraged now as it is, but what we heard was he was fully financed 2 months ago. We heard this, and now we're bringing on more partners. And why are you doing this?
Now, taking away the RFK side of it,
that's a different transaction entirely.
Sure, yeah, right. Now, is there a chance that he could wind up bringing in the kind of partners he needs to where when they figure out where they want to go to finance a stadium somewhere. I mean, it's probably the same question the RFK one. I don't know, but
you could have a whole different group of people, owning the stadium hypothetically.
That's
But
true.
that's what you're asking. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
You could bring a whole
basically.
another group of people. Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Well, I think in a way what you might be asking, Dave, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, and Steve can shoot it all down. Maybe they're trying to build a bigger war chest just in general, knowing that whatever you pay for the team, there's probably another $3 billion you got to put out there.
Yeah, but listen, I mean, the thing is, people are only going to owe money in a percentage of what they own. So the fact that some Colombian drug lord has got, $10 billion in coke sitting in a jungle in Colombia doesn't mean he's going to be required to shell out $3 billion.
No.
If he owns 5%, if there's like a capital call, he's going to owe 5%. So I don't know how much value it has, other than, I mean, he's never going to go broke and always be able to owe his part.
Right.
There's that, but it's not, unless he's agreed to fund dramatically more of the stadium, and he would own more of the stadium stuff. But that only works again is if Harris wants to do it himself and not lease like the RFK site back from either the federal government directly or DC.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So basically, they could have 100 owners, but Harris has 30% stake in the team. Most likely, he's going, no matter what, paying 30% or.
Well, so let's just say, for example, like we've done this with the hog side. We're not going to get into numbers in business here, but there have been times in the hog side, especially in the early days, when we'd say, look, we got to chip in some money here,
Right.
And we do that as per the percentage of who owns what percentage. Okay. And so if it comes down to like, listen, Pro Football Inc. needs money.
Right.
And so we're going to come to the owners. You can't go to the guy who owns 10% and say, you need to pay 40%.
Right.
That's not how it works. And so the fact that this Colombian drug lord has got 10 billion in coke in the jungle doesn't mean that he's going to owe all that 10 billion.
Right.
It just means
I feel like we may need to look up the guy in Colombia and what he actually owns, and not just.
I think it's a pile of coke in the jungle. I'm convinced.
just as maybe a disclaimer, because you are talking about a billionaire family, and Steve, those types of people like to
listen. What other product in Colombia could make him $1 billion but coke?
Coffee beans?
No, that's no fun. It's got to be
the
cocaine.
Juan Valdez family is what Dave's saying.
It's just far more interesting if Josh Harris is bringing in a Colombian drug lord. It really is. That would be also, by the way, the most Washington thing ever, just for the record.
And imagine
Alejandro Santo Domingo is the name of the guy. Let's see what's
his name.
Alejandro Santo Domingo.
Does it have drug cartel warlord behind his name?
It says financier and philanthropist. Father was a billionaire. Mother was a socialite.
So he's a Colombian drug lord who married a prostitute.
Well, no, his father was a
his
Colombian
father married a prostitute. So he is the son of a drug lord. He's a legacy drug lord with a prostitute mother. Is that what you're saying?
They own a brewery in Colombia, is what I'm seeing.
Brewery. What are they brew? Okay, see, I'm validated. What are you gonna say? Are you gonna say a cocaine manufacturing plant? No, you're just gonna say he owns a brewery. It's a brewery.
Yeah, he owns the second largest beer company behind Anheuser-Busch. So they own them. They work with the Miller Company.
This is the guy from Narcos, isn't it? Is this the guy who dug his way out of the Mexican prison?
I don't think it's the same guy.
El Chapo?
No.
Is this El Chapo? Is El Chapo?
It's not El Chapo's dead, isn't he? Didn't he get capped?
Did he die?
I don't know.
I don't think El Chapo died.
I don't recall.
I thought
Pablo Escobar got capped.
Oh, Pablo Escobar definitely got killed
a long time ago, but I don't think El Chapo died.
That was the
Plus
baby
now
he
owns Washington now. He owns he's going to own a part of the team. He can't be dead, obviously.
And please, Josh Harris, credential us.
Oh yeah, please credential us. Thank you, Dave. I forgot my tagline.
To be fair, when Josh Harris buys the team, I have no ill will toward Josh Harris. I wish her nothing but the best. I think you maybe need to go to a better barber. That's it. That's the worst I'll say about you.
Josh,
Hey.
what's Josh's hair look like?
He looks rather disheveled these days, but I think that's because both his teams are in the playoffs. He's stressed out.
Could the disheveled be just a styling cue? I got to look like a normal person, so I'm going to look disheveled.
Dude, you know as well as I do. These rich guys get with crazy ideas like that. So, what were you gonna say, Dave?
I say, well, I mean, considering the route that he got to get to where he's at right now, I think he's a little more personable than guys like Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder has zero personality whatsoever, other than just
none at all.
Jerk.
Yeah. And with Josh Harris, I mean, and really anybody buying the team off with Dan Snyder, I have zero ill will against him at all. Period. Anyway.
Yeah.
No matter what, short of them being convicted of some felony somewhere.
Yeah. And even then, it's got to be a bad felony, right?
Yeah, true. Yes.
Yeah.
Like if there are degrees to it.
Right.
Okay.
If it's financial felony, I kind of expect that from any billionaire.
So for the record, El Chapo is not dead.
Oh, he's not dead.
No, he's not. So this is clearly the guy. El Chapo is clearly the partner.
He's behind it. He's changed his name.
Well, and El Chapo's Mexican, but it doesn't matter. This is the guy.
I'm not gonna go there. All right.
Isn't it more fun to think this though?
It is. Oh, do you want a fun story?
Sure,
little quick
ahead.
Fun story. We're not going to focus on it, but I just saw this before we were, signing on. Beyonce has a show at FedEx Field coming up. People paid deposits for suites for this show, and the suites are expensive. They're $9,000 a pop when they paid the deposits. They were then contacted by FedEx Field, and I assume the Commanders. Suites are now $25,000 a pop.
A bait and switch.
A classic bait and switch.
Isn't this illegal?
It is definitely against many, many rules and laws and things like that. For those who don't know, my wife has worked a lot of years in ticket sales, so I know that's against the law.
Well, you know how the Taylor Swift concert came out. The tickets you buy them forever, several $100s, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then later on they're all going on sale for anywhere from like $10,000, $20,000, even $40,000.
That's called legalized scalping that Ticketmaster's doing.
Well, whatchamacallit, my daughter has 2 tickets to go to that concert, and I'm sitting there is like, just sell one.
Daughters
and
sell
go
these.
Further back.
Exactly.
You could pay off all your student loans. You'd be good to go. You further back. That's it. Say, Dad, you don't understand.
It's Taylor Swift,
I don't
Dad.
think you understand.
Yeah.
I have a rule when it comes to concerts. I don't care if Jimi Hendrix comes back from the dead to play one show in Houston, Texas. I'm not paying more than $200 all in to go to any show ever. That is my rule. I don't care who it is. I passed on my favorite band ever, Van Halen, because it was more than $200. I'm not doing it. So no, that's my rule. No 2 hours of entertainment is worth more than $200.
I think 200 is close to the most, probably a little more than we've ever spent on a concert. But that said, because of Dora, what she used to do, my wife, we did get very good tickets when Queen did their tour through DC. The Adam Lambert Queen. Obviously, I was not really alive when, or I was alive when Freddie Mercury was.
But you were like 10.
Yeah, I wasn't going to see Queen back then. But when the Adam Lambert Queen tour came through a few years ago, we had like second row tickets through a connection.
I'm trying to wait out Guns N' Roses right now because they're coming to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't want to pay this, and so I'm going to wait it out to the bitter end.
What are the cheap seats in Guns N' Roses?
I'm not going to go see the cheap seats. I'm not going to go sit in upper deck for
the music's the same.
But I could watch a YouTube video and just turn the album on if I can't see them at all.
Fair enough.
And as far as Van Halen, I'd probably spend a little more than $200 for that. I'd be more than happy with that one.
I'm not doing it.
I agree with you on with any other band. I agree with you.
They're my all-time favorite band.
Van Halen, same with me. I love him.
He's what made me want to play guitar. I just bought his guitar a week ago. I'm not paying more than $200 for a concert ticket.
But how much did you pay for a guitar again?
It doesn't matter, Dave.
We
That's not the
decided $20,000, Dave. We already decided that.
Objection non-responsive.
Look, I get it, Steve. I think if I were to be honest, probably the most I've gone is 150 on concert tickets for a band I really wanted to see.
I got roped into. Anyway, we've gone down the rabbit hole thanks to me, but
this is a rabbit hole show. That's fine.
The whole show's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Speaking of rabbits, a guy who's no longer a rabbit because he keeps getting hurt. Chase Ruge, cut by the Washington Commanders. We should talk about that. Post June 1st designation, so it saves him some money. But Ruge hurt the last 2 seasons, really 3 seasons. I know he missed some time even. Look, I think if you miss the bulk of 2 seasons in any sport, the odds of your career being done are pretty high. So I feel terrible for him that, this is what happened to him.
Yeah, but I get it. I mean, but it's a shame because that was a position that he has talent,
Absolutely. A very talented center. He's 30 years old. So, if he got healthy, he could have another 5 years in him. But they also drafted his replacement. They signed a free agent who can play center and be a starter. I think we kind of all saw the writing on the wall here. It's just unfortunate for him.
Somehow I've left him off of my dead cap list on my chart.
Oh.
So I think the savings ultimately is $8 million, but
yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah, but again, I for some reason. Oh yeah. Anyway, so it's about something like $8 million, and it was a post June 1 designation, which means that the dead cap gets split up over 2 years.
Right. So the $4 million or so split over 2.
Yes, correct.
And you know what it means really, though, which is wild, is now we have not one single offensive lineman from when Ron first got here. All the starters, all the that really good O-line that was here at one point during Jay Gruden and during Mike Shanahan, they're all gone. So
and some of the replacements along the way leave some to be desired.
Just guys, as they're called.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, I've already said it all. I mean, a million times before. I don't get it, and I'm not going to get it. What he's thinking at the O-line.
No. I don't get it either. I mean, look, if this guy you drafted turns into a new starter, great.
Yeah, but again, I bring it up you signed Nick Gates to $16.5 million. Where is this Ricky Stromberg going to fit in? Right. Somebody explain this to me. I mean, seriously, they're both center, and so could you throw in a guard in a pinch? And Dave, you're right in what you said last time, which is he's played some guard, but the man is a center.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I mean, it's just weird. It's just a weird draft strategies.
Well, I think I just think you go with Gates as center, and you get Stromberg ready to go going forward. That's all, and then Cosme kicks into guard, and it's just the left guard now is what we have to kind of worry about.
But you're going to spend on a third round draft pick on a guy to maybe have to be ready. I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah, but let's be honest. This whole draft strategy, we talked about this. We don't understand most of it anyway to begin with.
True.
Yeah. So I mean, does it surprise you?
Yep. It shouldn't, but it does.
I mean, it does. I would say it does, but it shouldn't.
See, I don't get crazy about this anymore because my fandom has been so tarnished that this kind of thing used to drive me crazy, and it doesn't anymore, thankfully.
Sure. Speaking of crazy, Jim Irsay. Let's talk about Jim Irsay and his incident with his next fight he's picking with Washington. So John Keim wrote an article. It was about Sam Howell and the search for a quarterback. And one of the blurbs he put in there, something he's actually mentioned multiple times that people seem to overlook the last year, is that at one point, he likes to say this, at one point the Commanders contacted every team in the league about their quarterbacks. They even they even reached out to see if Andrew Luck might become available, if he wanted to come out of retirement. And Jim Irsay finally figured out what John Keim was saying for the past year and put a tweet out saying, if anyone reached out to Andrew Luck, that's tampering, and the league should be dealing with this, and fines and draft picks taken away, blah 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 blah.
So,
go ahead.
Are you telling me that Jim got off the phone with Josh Harris's Coke dealer, Coke manufacturer defending Colombia long enough to realize that post ipso facto that Washington may have committed a recruiting
Maybe.
violation? Is that what you're saying?
I might be saying that. We don't know who his Coke dealer is these days, but maybe.
It might be that guy. If he knows Harris, he probably knows Irsay.
Now, I will say that Nicky Jhavali came out not too long afterwards, said that, according to Andrew Luck's father, which is also his agent, said no, they never spoke with the Commanders or any other team about him coming out of retirement at all. He hasn't been contacted.
Oliver Luck is not his agent. Oliver Luck is his father. His agent was his uncle, just to be clear.
Oh, it was his uncle. Okay,
Yeah.
So then he must. Well, either way, I know the conversation happened. They both must have been involved with all that.
I mean, I know Oliver Luck a little bit, and he is.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. And he's an honest, decent guy. He's a smart businessman. He's not like some dumb jock. He's a
no. He's a career sports guy, like
but he's a business guy. Yeah. And so he wouldn't do anything dumb. So I
wouldn't think so either.
No.
So my reaction to all this was, if I were the Commanders, what I would have said was, Jim, we talked to you, and you were just so drunk and high, and you don't remember? Like, it was a 2-hour conversation we had about.
I mean, the other end of this, of course, is Washington has done a ton of dumb things. So
sure,
is this one more dumb thing? Is that really, would it surprise anybody if it was true?
No.
And by the way, I'd like to point out that was it the Dolphins that lost draft picks for?
They lost a first-round pick, yeah,
because of trying to recruit Tom Brady.
Well, he was on another team, but. At the same time, if I told you talked to Jim Irsay and he totally forgot the conversation, would that shock you either?
No, at all. Because again, he had to put down the phone to, he's talking to Josh Harris's Colombian drug lord buddy.
Right. Well, the weird part is he wasn't even talking to him about cocaine, Steve. He was like looking to snort some pixie sticks or something.
He's wanting to meet his prostitute mother. That's what it was.
He's freebasing moon rocks. It's a whole thing, like.
It was probably just Irsay after the fact, having the phone up to his ear, not even on, talking to somebody who's not even there.
There you go.
Saying, "Hey, what? Boom."
Yeah.
Look, okay, so Washington is doing the right thing, generally speaking, by trying to find a quarterback. We can all agree on that.
And by the way, this is all over a year ago now. This is when they were looking for when they got Carson.
But Andrew Luck, didn't he retire like 4 years ago at least?
He retired and lost, and Roy trimmed down, lost a lot of his weight.
So
still terrible beard. Never figured out that he shouldn't have a beard.
I mean, Andrew Luck. Yeah. I guess one phone call doesn't cost him anything, but I don't know why anybody would think Andrew Luck would want to, one, come back at all, and two, for you. Why would Andrew Luck want to ruin his legacy to come back to Washington and make another couple $1 million?
That he doesn't even need.
Right. And his parents, by the way, have a ton of money too. So, I mean, I don't get that at all.
Well, you mentioned Oliver Luck, and you might not even know this.
He's not a great buddy. I'm just saying I've been interacting with him. I know him a little bit. That's what I'm saying.
But so Oliver Luck, his last gig was he ran the XFL, before the pandemic hit and shut it all down.
Right.
He made a ton of money in a lawsuit against them because they owed him ridiculous. Like, he had a 3-year contract or something like that they had to pay out. It was big chunk of money.
When I first met him, he was in charge of the Houston soccer team, the Houston Dynamo.
Okay.
And then he moved to NFL Europe, and he ran NFL Europe until that died.
Right. Then he went to West Virginia, maybe, or something
I
like
think
that?
So. Yeah. And then he was with the XFL.
Yeah, but he's a career sports business guy.
Correct.
Yeah, he's a serious guy, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Random XFL tidbit. Lakeem Williams of the XFL of the St. Louis, I don't remember what, Battlehawks. That's what it is. St. Louis Battlehawks. He's a linebacker there. He got to work out with the Commanders.
There you go. There's our answer.
Yep. There's our starting linebacker, Steve, because we didn't bother finding one in the draft.
You are the only person on the face of the earth, literally, who knew this, including the Lakeem family. Did not know it either.
Hey, maybe they'll take DJ Swearinger after he wins the championship.
Oh, yeah, wouldn't that be ironic?
Bring him back, have him play linebacker.
Home, DJ. Yeah, keep your mouth shut this time, please.
Yeah. but I want to throw that tidbit in. All right,
Because you just couldn't
so
help yourself. I know you
I
couldn't
can't help myself sometimes when it comes to minor league football. I love it so much.
You're the only one.
Yep. Me and 20,000 drunk college kids who just want to make a beer snake.
They didn't even know they were at a football game.
They're just like, we need a place to put all our beer cups.
Can somebody explain to me what the fascination is this beer snake? I don't get it. What is the point?
It's a lot of beer.
It's just like we're gonna make this thing for no real reason. Does it do anything? Does it accomplish something?
It accomplishes getting drunk.
I'm just at a loss
for words.
It's very
simple, Steve. Don't overcomplicate it.
See, you're talking to someone who's never drank alcohol in his life,
right.
So I guess it's hard for me to understand this.
Steve, okay, I'm going to put this in terms you'll understand. Imagine if I told you could just keep buying guitars and make a giant stack of guitars.
Well, that would be productive. I mean, that would be a good thing.
That's how they feel about stacking empty beer cups.
Okay. But what's the point of the snake, though? Okay, I get drink the beer. We're a bunch of alcoholics. So I get that part.
Right.
But the beer snake thing, I don't get it. It's just, okay, we have it. Now
literally
we drop it and
it goes
away?
from top to bottom of the entire stadium. Stacks cups. It's ridiculously huge.
But then what?
Then
just for show.
Then it's done.
And then you just drop the thing and the cups go everywhere, and then that's it.
Yes, and it's amazing.
And then you have to let the poor cleaning. Yeah, exactly. The cleaning crew.
They put it away.
They
do a good job most times putting it away and putting it in the recycling bin. Okay. That's not. You know what? I mentioned DJ Swearinger for the XFL. We have a safety position breakdown we need to get to, and we're like 20 minutes in. Okay. So our buddy No One from Tampa wrote the breakdown of our safety position group.
I would like to point out, No One from Tampa, that we wanted you on this show.
I called him.
And you did not show up.
Right.
So don't blame me.
No one can blame you.
Wait, that didn't come out right. Wait a minute. That came out totally wrong.
That came out exactly how I intended it.
Maybe I just rubbed him off the wrong way last time, and he was just like, I'm not going on there again.
He did say he hates you, Dave.
Join the list. This is long and
he shook his cane very hard. We pretend that he's 100 years old when he's like 60.
He's not 100 years old, but it's more fun to pretend.
Yes. I think he's No One 5 from years Tampa, older than you.
He's a lot older than me. I'm not anywhere near that age. But what he frequently does in our comment section, he will post like these random actors from like the 30s died.
Right.
And nobody ever knows who he's talking about.
He loves Errol Flynn. It's very disturbing.
I've heard of Errol Flynn, but I've never heard of any of the people he talks about.
Actually, you want to talk about old actors off topic still again, but
go ahead.
But I work with this guy. He always brings up on his phone and says, "Man, this young woman, she's like very attractive. What do you think of her?" And it's like a black and white photo from an actress when she was a teenager back in like the 40s and 50s. Like, dude, what's the matter with you, man? It's like she's either in hospice care or they're buried right now. It's like
is it a lot of Betty Grable?
Oh, name it. It's
Is this person's name No One from Tampa that you're talking about?
No, it is not. Actually.
If not, you need to hook the two of them up. They can talk about old actors.
I'm sure a few of the pictures came up were probably some of his teenage crushes, maybe, but that's about it.
Okay, so safeties.
All right, let's talk safeties.
The Washington Safety Group.
Right.
Troy Apke, if you want to call him a safety. I'm not sure you do. But
Troy Apke's still around?
They re-signed Troy Apke. Yes.
What is wrong with this team and Troy Apke?
Yeah, I mean, they had him at corner last year, but I'm going to call him a safety because he's really a special teamer. Percy Butler.
Well, he puts the special in special teams.
Kind of.
Hey, you can't teach speed, I mean.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
apparently he can also not teach tackling or staying in your lane.
Coverage ability, cutting. Percy Butler, Cam Curl, Derek Forrest, Xavier Henderson, and Kendall Smith, who Kendall Smith being and Xavier Henderson both being undrafted free agents.
Right. Okay.
Now you could call. If you want to call Jartavius Martin a safety, I have him listed as a corner, but I guess you could call him one too. Thoughts
He's,
on
well,
safety?
Dartavius Martin's clearly being groomed for that nickel Buffalo role that Ron and Jack Del Rio are in love with.
Hey, I guess
So,
so.
I mean, I think
I
he's a
had to
bit
put him
small for
somewhere.
it, but
I had to put him somewhere, so I put him as a corner. That was
okay.
basically it.
It's flip a nickel. See what it
Flip a
does land on
nickel.
corner or safety. Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so let's start with.
I'm just
go ahead.
interested to see how Percy Butler comes around in his second year,
Mm.
because I know he came in with a lot of talent, a lot of raw talent. So it's just, and will he turn a corner like Curl, and
I
how
was a
far
bit disappointed with Percy Butler last year. Like you, I kind of had expectations for him that just didn't seem to happen.
Sure.
No, it didn't at all. It's some flashes, but that was about it.
I'm with you both on that. Like, you kind of were hoping that maybe he would start standing out on special teams, but obviously Jeremy Reeves became the special team star last year. Right. And that's what you hope for if a guy's going to work out, is that's where he makes his mark first, and then maybe he moves up. But yeah, he just didn't do a lot. I'm pulling up the article now.
I'm pulling up his stats.
Yeah, I got him here. 9 solo tackles, 11 combined. And fumble recovery.
I mean, he was active for 15 games.
Yeah,
right.
That's not a whole lot for 15
it's not.
games.
No, it is not.
No. I think obviously Jeremy Reeves is the one that's going to excite you.
Well, I mean, you got to start with Cam Curl. That's the one, right?
I was working my way up.
Oh, you're working your way up? Oh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
So Jeremy Reeves is the one that excites me when you're working your way up, because he's obviously a good contributor on teams. He's a good backup to have in there. If you needed him to start a game or two at safety, I think you could. The rookie that they signed, I'm with you, Steve. It's probably more of a corner role. They're probably just going to work him at nickel constantly. I would be shocked if you see him playing, 2 deep zone in the safety area. But yeah, after that, this is now going to be the Cam Curl, Derek Forrest show, I think, for the next few years.
What do you all think of, be objective here for a minute. Cam Curl, where does he really rank amongst NFL safeties? Because, I mean, he's very popular in Washington, and, he came out of nowhere. Everybody likes Cam Curl, right? But how good is he really from a football perspective?
I think as a strong safety, I think he excels at that position. I think he's a real good tackler. He gets himself positioned very well, but he's not a dual purpose guy. He's decent in coverage, not great in coverage. I mean, he's good when it comes down to tight ends. I mean, he's one of the better guys we have on tight ends. But if you leave him center field, which is where having Forrest come on like he did, you didn't have to see much of that at all. He almost, in a way, kind of reminds me a little bit of Landon Collins, but with just slightly better coverage skills. I mean, I think he's a real good tackler. He's always in good position. I don't think he's, even though some of the numbers you'll see, especially from your favorite site, Steve, PFF, has him ranked top 3 or whatever in the league. I never really saw that. I thought he made some impactful plays, but I actually thought that Forrest was the more impactful safety that we had on that roster, to be honest with you, last year. So,
absolutely. Well, Forrest is a true free safety.
Yes,
I think. Even though Curl played a lot of free safety at the college level, I'm looking at the numbers Tampa posted in his article. Derek Forrest, 4 interceptions, 9 passes defended. Curl 0-0. And I don't mind if you're not getting interceptions and playing, breaking up passes as a strong safety, because your job is to stop the run, and he's good at that. So to answer your question, is he like legitimate starting caliber? I think there's no question there, right? He's a starting strong safety. He could probably play the 2 deep zone as good as any strong safety would. I don't think you would ever put him in single high. Maybe in that robber role. Yeah, that would definitely be a mistake. So I don't see him ever being the 3 deep high safety.
Because I don't think the team ever thought that about him either.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
I'm if we're talking about like what are his limitations and how good could he be? the best safeties obviously can play every zone coverage. They can obviously, play strong or free. He's not that. If you're saying that's a 5-tool safety who does everything, he's a 3 or 4-tool guy.
Yeah, I mean, like Sean Taylor. There's only one Sean Taylor, right?
Sure.
Sean Taylor had it all.
Ronnie,
right.
Well, there's the Ronnie Lotts. There's guys like that, yeah.
Yeah, but like Sean.
They're few and far between.
Yes.
I really think, and not just because he passed away, but I think Sean Taylor was going to be like a regular Pro Bowl, All Pro.
Absolutely.
Pro
he
Bowl,
was in that caliber.
like a Hall of Fame, in the Hall of Fame conversation kind of player.
Right.
That's
if you take Sean Taylor out of it, and we all feel very strongly about him, it's the Ronnie Lotts, the Ed Reeds,
right.
that caliber.
Right.
That's very rare. You get one of those a generation,
right?
Basically,
and that was Sean.
That. Yeah,
and that's certainly not Cam Curl, but I like what you said about Derek Forrest. I don't know anything about these two undrafted free agents, Xavier Henderson, Kendall Smith.
Sure.
But let's start with Henderson. He is from Michigan State, 6'1", 210, and the other guy, what did I say the other guy's name was?
Kendall Smith.
Kendall Smith. Yeah, sorry, because the data is up on a column way far apart on my chart. He is 6'1", 200 pounds from the University of Illinois. So beyond that, I don't know who they are.
Right. Look, I mean, obviously they're not here to compete for a starting job, so we're not going to be focusing on.
No, they're here to compete for a practice squad job,
right.
Frankly.
Yeah.
Yes. Good luck to them. I'm not we'll see them in the preseason maybe. That's all we can say about it. Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about the safety group. This is why we did this first, by the way, is to knock out this little group.
Now, do you think that some of the hesitation of signing Curl to a long-term deal is based off of course, what they're paying on the defensive line, but also by the play of Forrest last year? Because when you look at Forrest, what he did, I mean, even with tackles, solos, and I mean, he does everything Curl does just as well in terms of when he comes up and plays the run, but he's just obviously a true free safety.
I actually don't think that. I think it's just Washington doesn't seem to want to sign guys early. I mean, like Terry McLaurin was the exception. They got Terry knocked out, but he's a Pro Bowl player.
He's also a leader, a team captain.
Yeah, that's true. Even in like Deron Payne, they drug him out to the bitter end.
Right.
Because there were questions. And I want to say Jonathan Allen, they did sign a year early. Is that right? Does anybody remember?
I think so.
Yes, they did.
And there was never any question if they would.
He's another
team. They gave him
leader.
a 5th-year option, but they gave him.
That's right.
That July.
They signed
of
it
that year.
before. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
so he was under contract.
Dave.
So Curl, I mean, they could let him play out, and if he does really well, they could just tag him.
Yeah.
If they had to. I think it's a dumb strategy. To me, you got Curl, unless he's just maybe they've had conversations, he's being totally unreasonable because he's got this father that mouths off on social media apparently.
Yeah.
Maybe they've tried, and Curl himself wants to just go to free agency. But if it were me, I would say, look, we drafted this player in the 7th round. He's been a tremendous rousing success. The fans like him. He's productive. Let's offer him a 5-year contract now, today. See if he takes it. But the Washington doesn't do that very much. It doesn't seem like. I mean, again, the exceptions would be Terry McLaurin and John Allen.
Right.
But beyond that, they don't have a history of doing this, I don't think.
No, you're definitely right. I think the wild card really is now that Bobby McCain is gone. How are you going to kind of fill in there? Because when you're talking about snap counts, and McCain was out there for 93.01% of defensive snaps last year. That is a lot.
But most of that wasn't even in a typical safety role, I don't think, was it? I think he played a lot of that either in slot or in the Buffalo role last year, if I recall correctly.
No, I think you're probably right about it. Now, to be clear, Cam Curl played 69.6% and Derek Forrest 81.4. So they were all out there for a majority of the snaps.
I just think, like, if you're trying to build an organization for the future and get a team out of the morass of stupidity it's been in for 25 years or whatever,
right?
Part of it is to sign players who are Washington guys, who've been Washington guys, who exhibit something that you want to exhibit on your team.
No question.
And Cam Curl is one of those guys. So I don't know why you would want to mess around. Just sign him,
Well, it could be like you said. He might be just being unreasonable for what he wants.
Could be.
Yeah. Now, if he's wanting top 5 money, he's not there.
One thing I would definitely do is tell his dad to shut the hell up if I were Cam. That's what I would do.
And I think that's the dangers of sites like PFF, which is probably why you don't like them as much either, Steve, because they really kind of come up with these numbers that are real subjective, as you talked about before. And, these numbers make him look like he's a top 3 safety in the league, and he's just not.
We had, before you were on the show, Dave, we had a guy from PFF on. Because when I was running Twitter, I was mouthing off about PFF, and he challenged me, and so I said, "Come on the show and talk about it." And to his credit, he did, but he didn't get into the details of how they do it because they wouldn't let him.
Right.
That's what I wanted to do was that, and he said he couldn't do it. But
well, I think at that time it was an imperfect science anyway. Because even today, when they talk about it, there's still things they're figuring out, and they need to allow this process that they have grow over periods of time.
Here's why I don't agree with the way PFF does. What they're doing, they have this army of people who are ranking players and rating players. And then they take those numbers and they churn them through some clever mathematics into what look to be objective statistics. But they're based on subjective evaluations. And observations, and so it's not truly objective statistics. So if they want to just say we're going to rank these guys 1 to 50 or whatever, fine. We all do that. We've done that.
Right.
But the idea of saying this is the number when it's not really, this is also why I disagree with advanced stats in baseball, because a lot of them are hokey kind of numbers and stuff too. So that's why I don't like PFF, because you're taking subjective evaluations, turning them into objective stats, and then lying to people about their objectivity.
And then what kind of is to be objective? There's an inherent flaw there.
Yeah. Yes. And then what kind of compounds that too is that you have these same people that are doing all this and looking at how a play is being called and run. And they're making these assumptions that this play was meant to go here or this play was meant to do this, and you have no idea what these plays were designed to actually do. So they actually have that as part of their evaluation. I'm just like,
who the hell are these people? And they don't know the plays. That's exactly right. That's why it's subjective.
Exactly.
That's why I don't like it.
Yep.
Now, I mean, there are some things that they do that I like that, like when they evaluate some quarterbacks, they actually look at, okay, well, this interception wouldn't have happened if it was a beautifully thrown ball and the receiver just completely just off his chest or whatever. So they count that and they give that lesser point value than an interception that was a poorly thrown ball. Stuff like that. They do things like that, which I actually like.
I'm not saying it's all bad.
No, I get that, yeah, but I'm just saying, but see, that doesn't consist of the majority of what they do, though, unfortunately.
No. And all of this is to say that perhaps the reason Cam Curl is not signed is exactly that. Like his agent or his family or Cam himself maybe is seeing these evaluations and going, if we get to market, we can make a lot more money. And so he's just, maybe that's it, or maybe Washington just hasn't tried because they don't have to.
Maybe they would make more money on the market. I don't know.
Right.
But my first question remains though. Obviously, Bobby McCain last year playing that nickel hybrid role, he played the second most snaps of anyone on the team. And they just let him walk. So you got to wonder. That's a lot of slack for somebody to pick up.
Didn't they just draft 82 defensive backs?
They did. They drafted outside and an inside corner. So,
I mean,
well, see, my fear is that they're going to take that second round kid, Martin, and they're going to try to make him play that role. And
I think you're right. I think that is what their intent is. I think you're
no question,
right.
that's their plan.
Yeah.
Whether or not that works out, who knows?
Yeah.
By the way, just looking at snap counts from last year, I don't want to get into it. Very interesting. Only 9 players played more than half the snaps on defense. So that's, and 2 of them are no, not 2 of them. Sorry, one of them's gone.
Sounds like you could perhaps write a column about this, Alex.
Yeah, I don't know if people want columns about snap counts, do they?
I'm a statistics nerd.
You would like that, yeah.
I would. But I want you to do it so I don't have to put through the effort.
Let me see if I have time to write up a column.
I'm not saying for tomorrow. For next week.
I'm not doing it for tomorrow.
Which means you'll actually like my next article you're going to review then, probably.
I do like your work, Dave. You wouldn't be here if I didn't like your work.
Well, no, I'm saying because this one there's a lot of numbers.
See, there you go. Yes. Don't forget, I'm the one who wrote 4 weeks. I got one question about injuries, the effect of it, and I wrote 4 columns on it over a month and I did derivatives. I did a statistical analysis, including derivatives.
Dave's got all the numbers in his column 1, 2, 3.
Actually, I'm not sure
10 numbers.
I'm not sure I even get that high as 10. I think I stopped right around 4 or 5.
Come talk to me when you're doing derivatives.
Well, it depends on which hand I use. If I use my right hand, I can only do 4.
Maybe I need to define what derivatives are.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I used to remember that. That's a long time, Steve. I haven't had to use them.
I just remember they're what collapsed the economy at one point.
That's a different derivatives. You want a lecture on that? I could really give you one on that one.
Oh, that goes back a ways now too. That's a dated reference.
Now it is, yeah.
It is. All right. Anything else we want to talk about with safeties before we kind of wrap up?
No, I think that was it for our position group breakdown. So for those of you who are new, we're going to do this every week from now until we run out of position groups, which is going to take us basically up to training camp. So that's the plan. Yep. This is called We Need Something to Talk About Every Week.
Yeah, exactly. In case it gets slow. But next week, luckily, the schedule will be out. The schedule comes out Thursday. We're recording Wednesday, obviously. So that's why we're not talking about it, if you're wondering. The only real thing we've seen on the Twitter rumor mills, Washington is not playing in Europe at any point this year. Yet again, no fun overseas game. So no getting up at 9:30 to go to your local German or English bar to watch a game and eat fish and chips or bratwurst, whatever you want to eat. So,
or in my case, health food.
Yeah, in your case, hey, bratwurst is pretty healthy.
No, it's not.
No.
Speaking of bratwurst, my wife had a fantastic idea today with the bratwurst and the onions and peppers or sauteed and everything. But what she did, she took this garlic aioli type of sauce or garlic butter, put it on the actual roll, and I grilled it with everything else. So I got that toast on that side, put it all together. Oh my Lord, was that amazing!
You did bratwurst on garlic bread,
basically, but it was just
sounds
fantastic.
Pretty good.
It was a great idea by her, and we'll definitely do it again.
I think my cardiologist would resign.
Hey, it's got onions and peppers; those are vegetables.
That's true.
Next week we're doing running backs. By the way, kids.
All right, so that's where running backs next week. That'll be fun.
Yes, that'll be
all right, guys.
Me.
Running backs and schedule breakdown. Yep. We will see you all then. Enjoy your week.
Absolutely. Take it easy, fellas.
Bye.